welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy, binge eating disorder recovery coach, as well as an author and the author of the book Out of the Pantry, a disordered eating journey, no other than Miss Ronni Robinson. Welcome,
Hi,
welcome, Miss.
Daniel.
Yes, welcome, Miss Ronnie on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Okay. Well, hi, Daniel. First of all, thank you so much for having me. As Daniel said, I am a author, an eating disorder recovery coach, a speaker. I live in Pennsylvania, and I'm an introvert. I'm a recovered binge eater. I'm a three-time Ironman triathlete, and I'm the mom of a foster fail cat.
Okay, Miss Ronnie, I'm introvert too, but I like
Mm.
interviewing talented people like you. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. So, the title Out of the Pantry is so evocative. What does the pantry represent for you, and what this journey out of it truly entail?
As far as the title, it's sort of twofold. One of the things is coming out of the pantry in more of a like metaphorical way, and that it's coming clean, opening up, telling, revealing this secret of mine, and also more in a literal sense of literally getting my face out of the pantry and to stopping all the binge eating that I was doing. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
You did answer the right question, Miss
Okay.
Rani. So, what is the single most important message you hope readers take away from the story? Is it hope, understanding, rebellion, or something else?
It is definitely hope. I wrote the book in hopes that other people who might be suffering with binge eating could see themselves in me and my struggles that I had for 30 years, and to know that they can, in fact, change their lives, transform their lives, and come out the other side of the binge eating struggle, and that they could live their lives in the present instead of being obsessed with food 24/7.
24/7. And how did writing this book serve as a final, crucial step in your own healing process? What is the act of closure, declaration, or something else entirely?
Yeah, it was a type of closure. It was also very cathartic. Um, the book chronicles my binge eating from age 9 to about age 40, and then about 12 years into my currently 17-year recovery. And it was a way for me to I let out all of my secrets. Binge eating is a very secretive and isolating and shameful um, eating disorder, as all that eating disorders are. And it was a great way to just get out. And they say you're only as sick as your secret. So I was revealing a lot of my secrets and making them making them known, and hoping that as I had said, that there are so many people who struggle with binge eating. I wanted them to feel less alone and less isolated, and have my words resonate with them, so that it would be freeing for them as well to know that they weren't alone and that somebody else, knows about the struggles that they're going through.
Interesting, Miss Ronnie. And on the personal journey and turning points, can you pinpoint a specific moment or turning point when you realize your relationship with food was a symptom of a much deeper issue?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that I learned when I first even realized that I had an eating disorder, and that came with me. I had two small children. I was watching television one night. The kids were in bed, and my husband was out watching television, and I heard the words compulsive overeater on television. And whether I had heard those words before or not, I can't say. But at that time, the universe had me hearing those words. And I went on my computer and I did some Googling, and I found out that, the compulsive overeating, the binge eating, which are very similar to one another, are an eating disorder. I thought I had just had a sweet tooth all my life, but in fact, it was a thing. It was an eating disorder, and that it was a mental health issue. And I kept googling and going down the rabbit hole, and I found out that I could recover from it, and that there were things to do to help with that recovery. And one of the things was therapy. So I went to a wonderful therapist, and she helped me to dig into my childhood, which I thought was, normal. We all kind of think our childhoods are normal because that's all we know. And, come to learn that my family was dysfunctional. And more importantly, it was more specifically, excuse me, that my parents were dysfunctional, and that they had, the way that they brought me up, there was no emotional support, there was no nurturing, there was no sense of family, no sense of closeness. And in addition to that, my mother used to hide snacks from me, and there was no discussion. And she just hid them. And when I ever asked her about them, she sort of shrugged and went back to reading her book, which was very common in our house. There was no talking about anything. And learning that my need and desire for food, this compulsion that I had to always be stuffing my face, came from the dysfunction of my parents and my home. And that was an absolute revelation to me. And learning that that was the case, that there was these reasons, I could then wrap my arms around it. I could process what happened to me. And I could, and I learned that I no longer needed to turn to food as my love and as my comfort or as my defense mechanism. And that was, a real life changer for me.
A real changer, for sure. The book chronicles a journey. What did the beginning of that journey feel like, Miss Ronnie? And how does the landscape of your life look different now that you are in a different place?
Yeah. So the journey began when I was around 9. And as I sort of alluded to, um, my mother, she hid cookies from me. It was my job at my mom, both my parents worked full time, and my mom went shopping after work on Fridays. She brought in the packages. It was my job as a little kid to unload the packages on the kitchen table, and then she would put everything away. And I would notice, for sake of argument, there were the cookies there, that she bought a package of cookies. And I would, I always noted the cookies because I'm a kid and cookies are good. And I would go to have them the next day, and I couldn't find them. And I would, I sort of was like, well, that's weird, and kind of shrugged it off. And then it kept happening week after week. So I would start to look around the kitchen, and then went through like throughout the almost the whole house looking for these cookies. I could never find them. And that soon led to me. We lived right around the corner from a supermarket, taking my allowance money or my birthday money, and I would go around the corner and buy a package of cookies, and I would eat them all myself, and I would eat them in one sitting, and I would hide the cookie packaging inside the shopping bag and then bury that in the bottom of the trash. And then that became a weekly, and as I grew older, became multiple times a week thing that I did. And I couldn't even explain to you why I was doing it. I just felt compelled to go get sweets, whether it was ice cream or candy or cookies. And I would do that. Um, I just really just felt this, like I said, this compulsion to do that. The landscape of my life now does not revolve around food, which is just such a blessing. And I'm so grateful for my 17 years of recovery. Yeah, when you're stuck in a with an eating disorder, your thoughts of food are so pervasive. And like I said before, it's like 24/7. And my life now is not based on food. I live in the present and I am living my life, and food is secondary, which it is for most people. But for anybody who has an eating disorder, food is your primary thing. So your thoughts and where your head, that headspace is filled with thoughts of food. When am I going to eat it? Where am I going to eat it? That kind of thing. And it's just so nice to be free from that.
Yes, free from sweet sweets indeed. And on healing tools and mindset, what did you discover? I will
Um,
just wait a minute. I'll just discover. I have an echo. So, what did you discover was the core emotional need or void that disorder eating behavior was attempting to fill?
as I touched on, I came to learn in therapy that food was my love, and it was the nurturing and the love and the engagement that and support that I was not getting from my parents. Um, and the food was always there for me. The food loved me unconditionally, right? I didn't need to prove myself to food. I didn't need to earn the food. It was just always there for me as a comfort. It was there as an escape. It was there as a defense mechanism. Um, and, yeah, just coping and love. The food was just always there for me where my parents were not.
And Miss Ronnie, as an author, as a coach, what's your short-term and long-term goals?
Um, I think they are. I think actually the answer is the same, both short term and long term. I would really like, my passion is to pay my recovery forward. I want other people who are struggling with binge eating, compulsive overeating, emotional eating to feel seen and feel heard. And I like to think and hope that they feel that when they're reading my book. And in the same way, when I work with my clients to help them, their inner child that also turn to food for love and coping and defense or a numbing, that they can also recover from that. And I just want to pay forward my recovery. I feel that if I can recover, most anybody or everybody can recover from decades of disordered eating, and just pull them out of the fire one by one. And like I said, most it's so important for the inner child that was, sort of traumatized by the dysfunctional house, to feel seen and heard and safe. And that's what I provide in my coaching. And I hope that people feel that way when reading the book as well.
Interesting, Miss Ronnie, and good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success.
Thank
And
you.
what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author and want to be a coach like you?
So two things. As far as being an author, I would just encourage whoever does to write, 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 write. Don't be worried about having the whole book planned out ahead of time. That can always, the organization of it can always happen later. And just so important to get out your thoughts and write them down and uh, kind of do the brain dump that you've been wanting to do and write about, and just let that all flow and worry about the organization of it later. And then, of course, you need to find a good editor to work with who can help you shape your story, and then all the components of having the book, come to life. As far as the coaching, I think if there is something that you feel passionate about, or maybe is your strong suit of being able to help others and to treat others, find out how you can get whether you learn in school, whether you go back and take classes and, you go to college and major in something, or you could, there's a lot of certifications and trainings online that you can find to get certified to be a coach in that particular, kind of industry that you are looking to get into, and put in the time to get properly educated and yeah, get certified, and then learn how to hang out your shingles, so to speak, and finding clients so you can help them.
Finding clients, indeed. And thank you for that advice. Miss Ronnie, and can you please recommend a book or books that influence you, Johnny?
Sure. One book that really, so I had read a lot of books in my eating disorder journey and early in my recovery. I like to read about other people who had gone through what I was doing, what I was experiencing, and what I was living, and see the hopeful outcome of being recovered. And one of the books that especially stood out to me was called Eating by the Light of the Moon by Anita Johnston. And it was a little bit out of the box. And she used sort of storytelling and history and a little bit of, I would say, like mythology to
Mm-hmm.
help you get a different perspective on your eating, and why you had an eating disorder, and to, like I said, see it sort of from a different lens, and to, it was you know trying to help that body mind connection, and to learn where that hunger and desire came from. And I think also, if I remember correctly, it was more also slanted to like the feminine. So it was interesting to have that tied into it as well. And one of the biggest things from that book that always stuck with me, and I remember it being so meaningful at the time, and I can even picture I was in bed and I was, sitting up and reading it, was she had a line about, and I unfortunately don't have the copy right in front of me right now, but there was a line about like being on, I think it was like the side of a mountain, and putting on your parachute and taking the leap of faith to trusting your body, and trusting what it needed, instead of listening to that eating disorder voice in your head, and having faith and having trust in yourself, And one of the things uh, when you have an eating disorder is there's usually not a lot of self-esteem and not a lot of trust or sense of self. And the book gently encouraged you to trust yourself and take the leap of trusting that your body will tell you what it needs. And yeah, and it's a very scary to take the leap and very scary to trust after so many years of not feeling that way towards yourself. And it was just very um, gently encouraging, but also was hugely encouraging. And I remember from there, I started to listen more to my body and trust that I didn't need to count every calorie that went into my mouth or weigh and measure every serving of everything that went into my mouth. And it was, yeah, it was empowering.
Empowering indeed. And I want to apologize for the echo. So, Miss Ronnie, tell us this book is likely to be read by loved ones of those struggling. What is one thing you wish friends and family understood about the internal experience of disordered eating?
I don't think people who don't have an addiction of types, and I consider to have to be binge eating along the lines of an addiction, like alcohol or drugs or shopping or gambling. It's something that you can't control. It's not something that you can just, people say, well, stop eating so much. If it were that easy, there would be no binge eaters in the world if we all could all do that. It is so much deeper than that. And like I said, it comes from it's like it's childhood, micro traumas, and it's your inner child who's been hurt and has been, buried deep inside for a long time. And you internalize beliefs about yourself when you're a small child, that you're like lovable and not worthy. And you carry those into um, adulthood. And it's not something you can just easily stop eating or fix eating or go on the next diet, which is a bunch of bull, in my opinion, diets and diet culture. Um, but it's just it's all consuming, and people who have a normal relationship with food can't imagine what that would be like. And the other thing is that, and one of the biggest regrets I probably had during my eating disorder when I was an adult, was I would go to an event or a party. And most people, when they go to an event or a party, they're like, yeah, I'm going to hang out with my friends, have a drink, get some food, and, hang out with, people who I enjoy being with. I was more interested in the food. It was okay, that's nice. My friends are here, but where's the food table? And how can I keep going to it with people not seeing me and me stalking around? And I was more interested in the food than connecting. And that was probably one of the biggest regrets that I had. And I would, want friends and family to know that it was nothing against them and I wasn't being cold or unfriendly or unloving. It's just that I had this crazy desire and I had this mental health issue where all my focus was on the food and not on people and conversation, which is where it should have been.
Miss Ronnie, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in each fourth season or third season, food 101 and fourth season, on geography 101, love letters, movie 101, music 101 on fourth season, science 101, sex 101 in its second season, and my baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. And please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Ronnie, tell us, What is the big difference now comparing yourself when you are still addicted to sweets?
Um, the biggest difference is a, a, probably a lot of what I had just mentioned, that my headspace is not consumed with thoughts of food and eating. It's more about people and my work, and my day is not controlled by food. I don't feel like I'm a slave to food. Food is fuel for my body. And yes, it's meant to be enjoyed, but it really is just fuel so my body can work out, to exercise and, you know, carry me through my day. And it's, for traditional holidays and that kind of thing. And like I said, too, just having connection and conversations and people just be more foremost in my life, as opposed to all those decades of having food be the foremost thing on my mind.
Mr. Ronnie, last but not the least, out of the pantry implies you've emerged. What is the landscape of your life like now, and what is the new journeys are you able to embark on from this place of a greater peace?
Yeah, it's really paying the recovery forward. And my life transformed when I recovered. I went from somebody who was obsessed with food to somebody who had a more normal relationship with food. And I really wish that upon others. And, I hope I can keep coaching for as long as I can. Because I said, I think so many people struggle with this, and it's really shameful and it's really isolating. And I love to just keep pulling people out of there and bring them into a world where there's peace with food, and where they reclaim their lives from being obsessed with food, and just living in the present. And I just want to keep passing that on and helping people to achieve that.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Bronny. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you. And can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So where do people can buy your book,
Oh,
Miss
it
Ronnie?
it is on Amazon, and it's in paperback, it's in Kindle, and it's in audiobook. It can also be bought at Barnes and Noble, and like other probably larger retailers.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Ronnie Robinson because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering books like this will rise. So, Miss Ronnie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for yours, Daniel.
Mordecai people, see you soon.